Good morning, YouTube, and welcome to a full day of eating at the very start of the bulk. So this is my starting point in regards to food and sort of like what I'm typically having on a day-to-day basis, Monday through to Friday, typically to try and gain some muscle and as much muscle as possible without getting too fat and too chubby. So the first meal of the day is a very good meal to start the day, and with every meal I'm going to explain why I'm having it and why I'm having it at the time that I'm having it, and like what it consists of and everything like that. So to start the day is overnight oats. So it's 40 grams of oats, 125 milliliters of milk, 50 grams of low fat yogurt, one line of 50% dark chocolate, about 15 grams of honey, which I weigh on the scales, and then also some raspberries as well, just because I think the raspberries go relatively well. Now with this meal, the whole reason that I have this first of all at the start of the day is because it's sort of like a relatively filling meal, and it ticks all of the boxes that you could basically be asking for in terms of there's protein within it, because I actually have protein powder within it as well. There's a decent amount of carbs, there's some fats from the dark chocolate, and then there's also like fiber as well. So this really helps with like digestion and just keeping things nice and regular, which means you don't really necessarily need to worry about if you're bulking and eating quite a lot of food, because that typically happens anyway unless you're eating really badly. But another reason that I'm having this now as well is because this is sort of like my pre-workout window for food. So I want to make sure that I'm like prioritizing some carbs and also some protein as well prior to training, to make sure that I'm like fueling myself for my session and everything like that, and I can perform to the best of my ability. I will see you for the next meal before training, and I promise there'll be a little bit more energy. I've woken up and I'm a little bit ill and I'm a little bit tired, so I will get a little bit more energetic through the day, I promise. Hello, so I am feeling a little bit more awake. Apologies for the start of the video because I really was not very energetic. I am currently making my cream of rice. So with this is basically just, this is a very bodybuilding meal to have, really. Like, it's a classic like bodybuilder thing to have. I like to train like, I like to build my body, like I like to be like a bodybuilder, but without being a boring bodybuilder. Like, that's effectively like how I like to go about things. So a lot of the things that I do are like similar to bodybuilders, just because obviously they know exactly what they're doing. But I still want to have like a life around outside it. And also, I also like to train like optimally. So like all the exercises I do are pretty much like optimal exercises. But again, it's like, I don't want to be boring with all of that stuff. So anyway, onto the food side of things. So this is my pre-workout meal. So I'm having this around about at least an hour before going to train. Got to write some emails up and stuff like that for work. So, but with this, I'll show you obviously what it looks like at the end. The whole purpose of this meal is, again, it's just prioritizing carbohydrates prior to working out. And I also find with this meal, it's one of those ones that I can have that doesn't really leave me feeling sort of like too bloated. Like, I could probably have this, and I have had it before, immediately prior to working out, and it's left me feeling fine. Now, the main thing that you want to be prioritizing with a pre-workout meal is satiation is actually the main thing that you're looking for. So effectively, if your body is like feeling hungry and you're feeling hungry and you don't have anything in your like stomach, for example, your body is not really, and like you're not really primed for like going and doing activity. So whilst obviously there's different degrees of what you really want out of a pre-workout meal, the main thing that you really want to be sort of prioritizing is that satiation side of things. So it's feeling like you've got something in your stomach so that you don't feel sort of too hungry. And I'm not gonna lie, like with this, it's something that like, I don't love having it, to be honest. But again, I'm very sort of results driven in terms of, I don't really necessarily care too much about what I eat on a sort of day-to-day basis, as long as it gets me to where I want to be. Like, things just sort of serve a bit of a purpose with my nutrition, and if it gets me closer towards where I need to be, then that's all good. So this is what it turns out like. I'll show you from a different view. It doesn't really look the nicest, I must admit. Like, realistically, this just does look like a bowl of brown sludge. So not the most appetizing, but again, it just serves a purpose. I potentially am gonna have 3 crumpets prior to working out as well, but we will see how this leaves me feeling, because I don't know, like today, after having those oats, my belly just didn't really feel the best. So we'll see what happens. I'll be back very shortly for the next bit of food. Bonjour. I am now at the gym, just finished my session pretty much. I've got 1 set of abs left, which I will do, but Prior to training, I only had one crumpet because I still felt quite full. And even though obviously I mentioned about how you want to feel full for your session, you don't want to feel too full that you're going to feel like sick and stuff like that for your session, or like too bloated, or get like a stitch or anything like that. I also had some creatine. I got my creatine from Lidl because it's actually cheaper, and all creatine monohydrate is the exact same no matter what the brand is. The only thing that differs slightly is the quality. So if I die, it's that. And I also had a cheeky white monster because that's lovely. But we'll have a look at what effectively is the starting point for the bulk. So this is the starting point. So I'm actually quite happy. I mean, I have got like a little bit of a pump right now, so that's why I'm a little bit sort of more vascular. I don't know how much the camera is going to pick up, and I can't see the camera. So, but yeah, I am quite happy with everything. Bosh, back home, and it is crazy how much more energized I feel after a session. I literally love, like, training for me and just going to the gym. I literally just love it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just something about it. It just makes you feel so much better. I do it as much for like the things that I'm like almost addicted to with it is the progression of it, and also just the fact that it makes you look better and it makes you feel better. So double whammy. Now it is time for post-workout nutrition. So I didn't have 2 of my crumpets prior to training, so I'm now having them after. And I'm also going to have my chocolate spread, which I will reverse weigh. So I'll show you how I'm doing that. And as well as that, I'm also going to have my Cocoa Pops. Now, as with everything, I need a bowl. Obviously, I'm going to make sure that I'm as accurate as possible with this. But guess what I'm prioritizing again? Carbohydrates and protein post-session. The reason that I have Cocoa Pops specifically is because they are very easily broken down and like absorbed and shuttled in to your body. And like post-exercise, you've obviously been depleting glycogen, so like the energy stores within your muscles, and this is just going to help to refill them nice and quickly. So just to show you how reverse weighing works, it's quite simple. Brilliant. The fucking scale's just not doing what it's meant to do. Excellent. So 0 it off, take this out, -8, so that is how much is here, or -7 now. So I'll whack that on one, and again, even though I'm bulking, the main thing really is I want to try and be as accurate as possible so that I am not accumulating too much body fat. So that is approximately 15 grams worth of chocolate spread, which is exactly how much I want. So that's perfect. Also, the reason that I've got this on here is just because I thought I wanted it somewhere different than my t-shirt. But I've got my 2 crumpets now. I've also got my Cocoa Pops with 150 millilitres of milk. And I am going to have 250 grams of this as my protein source. So this is going to be about 20 grams of protein. And I'm not going to have any fat with it, but I might have a little bit of honey and also some raspberries as well with that. So that covers pretty much all bases. So that's what I'm having now. Just to make sure that I'm getting the carbs and the protein in post-session. And I've still got a few more meals to eat today. So I will show you what those are later, but I need to crack on with some work. Now, time for my next bit of scran. It is nearly 6 o'clock somehow. This is certainly not the most optimal bodybuilding scran. It is pasta and sauce, cheese and broccoli flavour. But the macros on it actually aren't terrible. With this is probably like the sort of like worst meal I'll have today. It's not really a meal, it's more of just a snack. But with protein, obviously it says like there's 8.1 grams of protein in here, 16 grams of protein overall, but it is worth noting that the actual quality of the protein that you're getting is worth keeping in mind. Like with this, it's the same with like, you know, like protein products like fucking like protein bread and stuff like that. It's not the best quality of protein. So when I'm having protein, especially with bulking, and with cutting as well, because it's really important with cutting. It's just important all the fucking time. You may be having like 100 grams of protein a day, but if it's all bad quality stuff, it's not obviously going to be the most effective for muscle growth. Now, I'm going to eat this, continue with working, and then I will see you for my actual sort of proper meal and last meal of the day a little bit later on. Buenos dias. I'm now in the process of making the evening meal, the last meal of the day. I am still going to have a couple of snacks, which I will tell you about very shortly, but it is going to be a bag of rice. If you've watched me for a little while, I have been having this meal for like 3 months straight, but I don't really understand how I don't really get fed up with this food. It is cooking right now. It's going to be 200 grams of chicken, a little bit of sweet corn, some broccoli, and a bag of rice with some peri sauce as well for some flavour. Now again, it is a meal that covers all bases. I need to put you down quick. Sorry, I had to sort the chicken out and sort the rice out as well as I was putting it in the microwave. I always have bags of rice just because they're nice and convenient. So, as I was saying, it's got protein, carbs, and also veg as well. So I don't have like veg and like fruit with every meal or whatnot, but I do have them with like the evening meals. Mainly, the purpose of the fruit and the veg within the bulking side of things is just for sort of like the nutrients of it, as opposed to the sort of volume side of food, because you're getting a decent amount of food volume anyway. Obviously, if my food was higher, I would probably have to sort of look at cutting out veg and stuff like that, or reducing it even further down, just due to the fact that you'd be limited by how much food you can get in. But for me, like now, food isn't really like too high that it's unmanageable. And again, there's just like the health benefits and everything like that of obviously having the fruit and the veg. So after I've had this, I'm also going to finish the day by having a banana and also having 100 grams of pineapple, frozen pineapple, so it's nowhere near as nice. So I shall put the totals of today's food on the screen now as I'm talking, but this is the starting point of the bulk, so food will only really be going up from here. But obviously this diet works for me, it might not work for you. There's a few things within there that will obviously be beneficial to keep in mind in terms of sort of like the structure of the eating in regards to prioritizing like more carbs and stuff like that prior to training, and then like sort of like ensuring protein with each meal and stuff like that. But whatever diet works best for you works best for you. So there's not a case that you've got a diet like how I do when you're bulking. If you've got any questions on why I have anything, or if there's anything I've not been 100% clear on, please let me know in the comments. But if you're new here, like and subscribe, because these videos are only going to get better over time. And by liking and subscribing, it makes me happy. So if you want to make someone happy today, do that. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's @CoachRecontrol on Instagram. And if you want coaching, just reach out to me on there. But as always, like and subscribe. Hasta luego and adios. And see you soon.